Quadratic expressions can be expanded by using the distribution method and then simplified by factoring. Like terms have the same variable with the same exponent. So as you can tell, between monomials and binomials, you can easily see that here in the monomial there's only one pair, but here you see that there are two pairs. Again, mono meaning one and bi meaning two. So that's how you can tell the difference between monomials and binomials. So what exactly are we trying to do? How do we solve the question? Well, basically we're trying to get these equations here to end up looking like this. So let's get started. So we're going to first start with the monomial question. Monomials are really easy to handle. So first, all we're going to really do is multiply this number and variable out here to the things that are inside the bracket. So just to show you, we're multiplying this and as well as that. So 2x times x, we're going to end up with 2x squared. Because when you multiply x's together, you end up with 2x's, so 2x squared. And then 2x times 3, we're going to end up with the positive because they're both positive. Positive 2 times 3 is 6 with the x, 6x. So we ended up with 2x squared plus 6x. Now that we finished with monomials, we're going to work with binomials now. This was the question that I showed you guys earlier. And to solve binomials, I usually use FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. Binomials take a bit longer, but not any harder to solve. So what I mean by first is when we're going to be multiplying or distributing like we did earlier, we're gonna multiply the firsts, so these two x's, the outsides, the insides, and the lasts. So I said that we're going to be multiplying the firsts. So we're going to start with x times x equals x squared. We're going to multiply the outsides. X times 4x. X times 4 is positive 4x. Then we're going to multiply the insides. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And then we're going to multiply the lasts. Negative 5 times positive 4, again, plus minus equals negative. So negative 20. So that's our first step. Now that we have our question, we're going to simplify it now. As you can see, these two numbers here both have the same variables. So these would be considered as like terms. In your finite answers, there shouldn't be any like terms. Then if there were, then it would mean that you didn't simplify it. So to simplify it, all you gotta do in this case is subtract it. So 4x take away 5x, you're going to end up with a negative 1x. So we're going to write out the question again, except with the 1x. Negative 1x, don't forget that. Take away 20. Or you could just write it as x squared, take away x, take away 20. And so that's your answer. Okay, so this is another binomial question, and we're still going to be using for a while. I kind of set it up already for you. So we're going to start with multiplying the first. So 2x times x, we're going to end up with 2x squared. Remember that x is without any exponents automatically has an imaginary 1. And when you're multiplying exponents, you're going to be adding when you're multiplying x's, you're going to be adding their exponents. So 1 plus 1 is obviously going to be 2. So that's how I ended up with 2x squared. And then we're going to be multiplying the outsides, 2x times negative 3. So we're going to multiply 2 times 3, or 2 times negative 3, and end up with negative 6, and then the x gets carried along with it. And then we're going to multiply the insides, so 1 times x, we're going to end up with 1x, or x you could put, and then we're going to multiply the last, so 1 times negative 3, we're going to end up with negative 3. You may have noticed we have like terms here, and you know that we're not supposed to have like terms, so we're just going to add, because remember the 1 should have been there, so we're just going to add negative 6x plus 1x, which will give us negative 5x, take away 3, and that's our answer. Okay, so it's time for the word equation, the word problem I mean. So the product of two consecutive integers is 1,122. What are the numbers? So just keep in mind that consecutive means one right after each other, so that would mean like 1 and 2, or like 15 and 16. So yeah, I already set up the the question up here. So it would be n bracket n plus 1 equals 1122. And we know that we're going to be dealing with a monomial because we only have one pair. So I solved it in the pack here. And I distributed it here. So I multiplied n and n squared, n times 1, 1n, and it equal to 1122. And then after here I brought it over because we would have to make it equal to 0. And so to actually solve the question, we would have to factor. So to actually solve the question, again, we'll look back at the question, it's to figure out what are the numbers. We would actually have to factor this answer. So when we're factoring it, we need to find a number. We need to find two numbers that will multiply to negative 1122, and that will add to 1. So the only numbers that will actually work out here are 34 and negative 33. And so that would be our final answer, and in the end, we would say that the numbers would be 34 and 33. And you're finished. So that pretty much concludes the video, and we're finished with working with quadratic expressions from chapter 2 in the textbook. Yeah, bye.